and I am here in studio with some Norwell officials. First, we have Town Administrator Darleen Sullivan. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Christine. Thanks for having us.
And going right down the line here, we've got Glenn Ferguson right in front of that microphone. He is, of course, in charge of the Highway and Tree Department. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, good afternoon, or is it still morning?
Well, it's afternoon because we're afternoon time now. And, of course, we've got Matt Keegan, and he is the superintendent of the very highly rated Norwell schools, as we've all heard. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And we've got the police chief right next to me because he said he's going to keep an eye on whatever I say here. So, Police Chief Ed Lee, thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
You know, it's interesting. In a lot of the towns we cover, some trying times because of overrides. You know, there's revenues aren't meeting expectations for the great services in these towns. So we're here to talk a little bit about a proposed override in Norwell, $3.7 million. Now, the last time an override passed or was requested, I believe, in Norwell was 2012. Darlene,
yes.
Tell us what the circumstances are for this one.
Thanks, Christine. Like you said, you know, we're not in this alone. There's many other communities feeling for very much the same reasons. You know, the pressures on their budgets to try to close them and still be able to provide level services to the communities. So for Norwell, as you know, we have many awards. We do a great job with our finances. We really are proud of that. But despite even following our policies and doing a really good job and being really conservative, we've been feeling some pressure on our budget for like the past 3 years, I would say. Been communicating it for a couple of years, just saying we know we're going to need an override. So, like you said, the bottom line is really the fixed costs. When I say fixed costs, I mean things, we're obligated to pay certain things like health insurance. And we know that not just for the municipalities that are feeling it right now, but even private sector, they've been going up, double digits for years. We have a lot of negotiating power at the table with our group insurer, but even with that, we're experiencing a 14.28% increase on that. And we've got our pension obligations, we've got unemployment and workers' comp, just like any other business, really. And we've got, employees and a community to run as well. So, we've got other folks that are going to take up a little more time and have a moment to speak in a minute on impacts, but things like asphalt and fuel and utilities and all of those things that we're feeling pressures on at home, we feel that we're feeling them as well in the municipality. So the bottom line is our fixed costs, our Medicare, all those things are rising at a much more rapid rate, about 3 to 4 times the rate of revenues that come in. So we're constrained in a municipality by being limited to increasing our total tax levy, which we're reliant upon. It's about 82% of our revenues is our tax levy. And when I say levy, that's really the amount we raise through property taxes. So our total revenues, including local receipts and the motor vehicle excise that folks pay and all of those things, run at about, on a 10-year average, about 3.8% run rate. If you want to round it to 4, say we get a 4% revenue trend, but our expenses are a double, triple, quadruple that in some areas now. So we've been feeling it. We've been making a lot of cuts in the past couple of years in general expenses, but we are at an impasse here where we need to actually ask the residents to say, hey, are you willing to allow us to do an override, to override the 2.5% we're limited to in order to have some more revenue to run level services and deliver the same level that you experience today in the community, and or if it's no override, then we know we need to cut spend. We know we need to cut expenses and cut spending. So
absolutely,
that's one of our biggest issues.
So let's talk about some of the impacts. Of course, I don't know how many miles of roads there are in Norwell, but I know it's a challenge in all these towns to keep the roads passable, especially with storms or the regular, the holes in the road, etc. Glenn Ferguson, you're the guy in charge of the highway department. What are you worried about if this override doesn't go through?
Well, Christine, I run a myriad of different services in town. To answer your first question, we have about 80 miles of roads. I do the engineering in town. I manage the highways, as we just talked about, the trees and the grounds that surround our municipality buildings, the recycling center, solid waste, and 2 or 3 of the cemeteries in town. And echoing some of the concerns that Darleen mentioned, it's just a quick, simple thing. The costs are outpacing our revenues. And that goes across all bounds. Material costs for asphalt, fueling, all the municipality departments in town is just increasing. And the amount of services that Norwell provides in my last 9 years as an elected official in town has increased. It hasn't decreased. The residents demand certain things done. The sidewalks on our main street. I think Matt will talk about the plowing of our roads. The expectations are high. They want to be out driving within an hour of a storm. The old days of in the 40s and 50s, when you had a blizzard, you would just go home and sleep for a week. People want to be out on the roads within an hour after a storm. So there's a lot of challenges. And again, I think the costs are outpacing the revenues. I've been an elected official in town for 24 years, 15 on the school committee, and the last 9 as the highway director. This is what I see, Christine, a perfect storm. We have, coming out of COVID, we've got some challenges. We see a new presidential person in office. I think a lot of concerns there. We see a lot of just the demands in our office. We reassessed a lot of the properties in town. We have a new water plant going in. We have a new potential boardwalk going in. Matt's going to touch a little bit on potentially a new high school engineering. So these all come together in one. So it's very good. I think we're led by a great town leader, Darleen, and her assistant, Kim. And I think the challenges we see going forward aren't going away, and I think Darlene's done a good job of...
Well, let me ask you a question, though. If, like, for the average person in Norwell, let's say that this override does not go through, what would they see? Would it be a delay in getting the road clear? Would it be a problem being able to access places that they want to go to? What would that mean for the average resident of Norwell?
That's a good question, Christine. I think your services, when Darleen challenged me to try to take 10 to 15% out of my budget, including one of my employees, what you're going to see right away is less services done. I can't do everything within the budget and take that much of a cut. You're going to see fields, and then I have to prioritize. We're going to lay off a bunch of the employees, all the employees in the recycling center. So that means I have to take people from other positions in towns, for instance, that cut grass and take care of the roads to manage the recycling center. That's a concern I have for the schools, because we all know that we have Maya high school events, and there's certain demands that they have on grass being cut to a certain height. We have to make sure that those get done. There's also men and women lacrosse and soccer programs. They can't play on 5 inches of grass. So I think one of the challenges I see is trying to keep up the services that we're going to be lacking.
Okay. Sounds like you got your hands full. Now, meanwhile, with this, of course, Norwell has got a reputation as having terrific schools. We've got the superintendent in here, Matthew Keegan. What are you worried about if this override doesn't go through?
Well, the main worry would be just maintaining what our focus has been. We've very much been focused on excellence in education and a supportive environment. Very much community approach. We work very closely with the police, the fire, highway, council and aging, recreation department. We're all very intertwined and depend on each other a lot. We've been very proud of our students, are fantastic. Our families are very supportive, and the teachers care a tremendous amount about the kids. And we've been able to offer, academic programs that allows kids to really stretch themselves as far as they can go. Many AP classes and college prep classes, as well as providing supports to kids that really need that extra boost to get where they want to be. So we've been able to really address all those areas. And that's the gray area where we're able to let kids stretch and yet at the same time help kids who need that support and making up some learning supports, continue to make strides where we may not be able to offer as much of those two things if an override does not pass.
Are you hearing some parents are worried about this?
Yeah, I think there's no question there's some worries. really have some fixed costs like the town does. We have some things that we have to spend money on. We have out-of-district tuitions that we have to pay for. Our textbook adoption cycle is always increasing. Our technology cycle is increasing. Our gas contract just went up, just like everybody else's did. We're in a new 3-year contract, and we just signed a new transportation bus contract. Those are all things we have to deal with, and those were a part of one of the reasons we knew we had an override. We also have 2 key positions that we were trying to add. One is a 5th nurse. We want to make sure we maintain our ratio of students to nursing, and we have students with extraordinary health needs, and we want to be able to address those.
Okay.
The other one is a assistant special ed director, again working with our students who need learning supports and their families and the teachers to deliver those supports as much as possible.
Thank you. Again, that's Matthew Keegan, the school superintendent in Norwell. Ed Lee, you're the police chief in Norwell. Norwell has a reputation as a very safe town. You think that's accurate?
Absolutely. I would say it's probably the safest community on the South Shore.
Are you worried about that reputation slipping a little bit if this override doesn't go through?
Well, the police department takes great pride in providing a high level of service for the amount of people that we have. Now, we have about the same amount of people that we had back in 2005. And what's happened since 2005? The town has grown. Calls for services have gone up. But we're not asking to add more people. We're just looking to maintain that high level of service that we provide. And unfortunately, if the override doesn't go through, then there will be certain areas in the department where that level of service will not be provided.
I don't want to be one of the doomsayers here, but give me an example of what could happen.
One of the big things is currently the police department has 5 clerks that run the front desk 24/7. We would eliminate 5 positions and only have someone maintaining Monday through Friday 8 to 4. So when someone comes in the station, they can only come in regular business hours or actually speak to someone at the front desk. Otherwise, we would have a centralized dispatch, which is in Hingham. And when people come to the front desk now, they won't be speaking with a person. They'll be speaking on a phone with a video camera. A situation like that is not the greatest as a chief of police. I want people to know when they come to the station, there's going to be a friendly face greeting them with information that they need or anything that they need to report. And there could be some distortion in communications with dealing with this new system.
So if somebody's having, say, an emergency, sees the police station, pulls in, this sounds like something out of a movie. It's like, oh, pick up the phone and we'll patch you through to somebody.
Yes, unfortunately, that's exactly what will happen. Obviously, officers that are on the road will respond as quickly as possible. We'll provide a video system for the main dispatch to see if there's any situation like that. And we're also working on a system where we can someone can lock themselves in the lobby from inside if there is a situation where someone's being stalked, followed, or being threatened.
I think a lot of women feel that maybe they feel like somebody's following them or driving. Maybe a lot of women had that situation where they think, well, somebody's following me, I'm going to pull into the police station. So I know that happens more often than people think. Darleen,
Yes.
If people want to find out more information about all the nuts and bolts of this override, what website or Facebook page do you recommend going to?
I think the best place to go, it's actually both the school and town have information on their websites, but if you go to the Town of Norwell website and go to Town News, the very first link at the top, it's hard linked in there for any information about the override. So we've got presentations, we've got upcoming meetings and various information.
You have
that's
some
on there.
information sessions coming up?
We do. So we've got one coming up on tomorrow at 1:30 at the Council on Aging, April 30th, and we've also got another one coming up on Thursday night, May 1st, at 7 p.m. at the library. library at 64 South Street. And one other thing, just if you don't mind if I kind of talk 2 seconds about process. So for the residents of Norwell, we have our town meeting May 5th, which is Monday evening. It's at 6:30 at the gym in the Norwell Middle School. And the override is really a two-step process, not just for Norwell, for every community. So you would come to town meeting, have your voices heard, and vote, on the override. If, in fact, it passes or it's authorized through town meeting, then May 17th, we have an election. And there are actually some number of officers and elected officials that'll be on there, but inclusive on that ballot will be a couple of ballot questions. One will be it's going to be question 2, and it's going to be for the ballot. So you'd want to make sure that you follow through on both steps if you're participating, and we hope that that everyone listening will participate. So
now for
May
that
17th.
And for that $3.7 million override, what would that mean to the typical homeowner in Norwell?
Yeah, the average assessed value in Norwell is $1,020,200. So the average impact on that would be about $887 and some change annually. So it's about $74 a month for the $3.7 million override.
Okay, we appreciate everybody coming in here. We had Darleen Sullivan, the town administrator, Glenn Ferguson, of course, in charge of the highway, tree and grounds, etc. Matthew Keegan, the superintendent of schools, and Edward Lee, the police chief. We'll keep you posted here on WATD about what the vote outcomes, and if you've got any questions, again, best website?
Town of Norwell. Go to the news and information.
Thank you very much. And again, I'm Christine James, 95.9 WATD, 95.9 WATD, 95.9.